everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining PSC Solar UK. Thank you for joining the webinar. Zero Your Electricity powered by PSC Solar UK, African largest online solar PV manufacturer and distributor. Without further ado, I would just like for us to dive right in. We just have 40 minutes for this webinar. So speaking to us today will be Engineer Emmanuel Ajayi and Engineer Alex Utongo. Engineer Emmanuel Ajayi is a client service personnel for PSC Solar UK. So with us is Engineer Alex Utongo and Engineer Emmanuel Ajayi. Emmanuel Ajayi is the client service personnel for PSC Solar UK. My name is Ujunwa Hosu. I'm the branch manager at PSC Solar UK Lekki office. Engineer Alex will talk to us about the core topic of today, which is the mistakes to avoid while using an inverter system, while Engineer Ajayi would enlighten us on the need for solar systems and renewable energy in general. So I'm just going to put before you I'm going to share my presentation slide with you so that I'll carry everyone along. Have the question and answer, which is the part 4 of the webinar. Everybody, if you have any questions that you intend to ask, anything you have in mind that you wanted to ask before now, you can just bring that up during the question and answer part. We'll be using the chat functionality or the emoji functionality. You just have to raise up your hand and you can ask the question, and then we'll round this webinar with our new innovations that PSC Solar just came up with. So handing over to Engineer Ajayi now. Engineer Ajayi would speak to us on the core of solar systems and renewable energy. Engineer Ajayi, are you with us? Okay, while we're waiting for Engineer Ajayi to join in, we'll just move to Engineer Alex. Mr. Alex will share with us the mistakes that can be avoided while using a solar system. So, Engineer Alex, are you with us?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. So you're going to enlighten our attendees on the mistakes that can be avoided while using their solar system. So please take it up from there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Utongo. I'm the solar project engineer in PSC Solar. First of all, I want to start with some of the mistakes that can be avoided while using your inverter system. There are a lot of things that people do that cause breakdown on inverters. But I'm going to start with capacitor. Hello. I'm going to start with what is known as electrochemical breakdown on capacitors. Capacitors happen to be one of the most sensitive components in the inverter system. There are other components in the inverter system that are also sensitive to temperature. But capacitors appear to be one of the most sensitive because they contain electrolytes in them, and if your inverter system is not operating under a normal temperature, the electrolytes in the capacitor will begin to evaporate, and eventually your capacitor will begin to age very fast and break down. So there are other components that can break down as a result of over temperature. But today I want to talk about capacitors so that we all pay attention to how we run our systems and how we load our system, because those are some of the factors that can result to over temperature in the inverter system. So for you to maintain a normal temperature in your inverter system, you always need to make sure that you put the recommended load on your inverter system. You don't have to start loading them anyhow, put all your appliances on the inverter. That's why we always do load separation anytime we're doing any new installation, we always make sure that we separate the loads, put some light loads, depending on the size of your inverter. So today we are going to touch a whole lot of things, and I I want to start with I want to start with overuse of the inverter system. Can you hear me? Overuse of the inverter system. Using inverters beyond their operating limits, either by choice or due to oversight or lack of knowledge, can contribute to inverter bridge failure. That is to say that using any component at a rating higher than its operating limit will decrease its lifespan and lead to failure. So avoiding these issues, means that all inverters are being used, uh, uh, are being run correctly. So what I'm trying to say here is that there are different ways you can overuse your inverter. Is either you overload it, is either you put too much batteries, more than suppose that is you mismatch your battery bank with the inverter system. Let's say, for instance, you have a 1.5 kVA inverter that's supposed to work with just two batteries due to the limited charging current of about 20 amps. You now have about maybe 4 or 6 minutes of 200 amp batteries connected to that same inverter. That inverter will eventually be overused because each time you hello hello
Yeah, hello, Alex. We can hear you.
okay,
Yeah, you go ahead.
each time you okay, thank you. So each time you fully discharge your batteries, your inverter might not be able to charge the batteries, and you might not get value for your money. So that inverter can eventually break down because if you fully discharge these batteries, the inverter will be running at a very high temperature while trying to charge these batteries. And so these are some of the things that can affect your system. And so I think it's time for us to really pay attention to some of these really things because it can lead to breakdown of our system. Let me quickly move up to the next one here, which is over voltage and over voltage and overcurrent. Over voltage and overcurrent. Those are the next two issues we need to discuss here. Next, over voltage and overcurrent. Over voltage and overcurrent can cause inverter failure, or overcurrent can cause inverter failure if either current or voltage increases to the level that inverter is not rated for. It can cause damage to components in the device, most frequently the inverter bridge. That's the MOSFET section of the inverter. That's the inverter bridge, where you have the MOSFETs and the heat sinks. Also, this damage will be caused by the excess heat generated by the spikes in voltage or current. Now, the topic mistakes that should be avoided when using an inverter system, everything we are talking about today will still trickle down to the same fact that inverters need to be run at the required temperature as recommended by the manufacturers. If you check the first one, we mentioned capacitor, we talked about heat, temperature. The second one, we talked about overuse, overloading, all about temperature. The third one, we're talking about overcurrent and overvoltage. It still boils down to temperature. Now, if we want to look at ultrasonic vibrations, it's clearly stated here that another problem on the list is one that contributes to mechanical stress placed on an inverter. ultrasonic vibrations originating in the core of inductive components like inductive loads, inductive components like transformers that cause friction, adding to the unwanted heat generated by the device and further damaging the components in the inverter. So we everything we'll be talking about today will still trickle down to manage the operating temperature, the ambient temperature of our inverter system. So overcurrent and over voltage. Every has a voltage and operating temperature, operating current and temperature. So if you, let's say for instance, you have an inverter that's meant to operate with 48 volts or let's say 24 volts, and you now connect, you wrongly connect your batteries at a higher voltage, you can damage such an inverter if you do not put protective gadgets like circuit breakers, fuses, and stuff like that to prevent high current. High voltages can also be avoided by using voltage regulators or AVRs and stuff like that. But it can be a little bit tricky when you have natural causes like lightning, because those are going to be very difficult for you to, almost impossible for you to control. So we just have to be careful when we're doing our installation, making sure that we try to employ every necessary equipment that can protect the system from over voltage or over current. Next here is the ultrasonic vibration, which I mentioned earlier. It's just about vibrations. A lot of times we mount our inverter in our generator house. Vibrations from generator, constant vibration from generator can also result in temp problem. So other precautionary measures include keeping the inverter from dust and water infiltration. If you mount your inverter in a place where there's too much dust around the environment, the inverter will begin to absorb dust, dust there is a vent, then there's a fan that draws in cool air. If there's too much dust in the environment, or especially in the powerhouse where the inverter is installed, the dust will easily get into the inverter and then eventually it will take in the inverter system. So it's always advisable to always do a routine maintenance on the inverter system, by cleaning it up or getting a qualified technician or a qualified personnel to always come around, let's say every 6 months or every year, to clean up the dust, just to make the system free from dust and clean. The next one here is avoiding mismatching inverter and your battery bank. Now, this is another very important area. Whenever you want to purchase an inverter system, you always make sure you check the charging current, the rated charging current of the inverter system, before you size any battery bank. Let's say, for instance, you have a 1.5 kVA, 1.4 kVA inverter, which we know typically has about 20 amps maximum charging current. You cannot use 6 batteries for that kind of inverter. You have to remain within the manufacturer specification of 2 units of 200 amp battery. except if you have the central inverter, the type of inverter we have here in PSC Solar. The charging current is about 50 amps. And some of them charging current can get up to about 70 amps. This kind of inverters, you can use about 8 batteries at once and you're fine. 10 batteries, you're fine. So you stack, if you're stacking with 24-volt system, you can stack up to about 800 amps battery bank and it will be fine. So you always need to check, compare, making sure that the battery bank is of the same, the inverter is not mismatched against the battery bank. So the next one here is always check the inverter charging current before sizing the battery bank. So I think I've already discussed that, and we need to wrap it up at this point because of the limited time. I don't have much time, so let's just wrap it up here. Before I go, I would like to say one more thing about batteries. Um, Basically, there are two types of batteries now. We have a lead acid batteries and we have a lithium ion batteries. These are two basic types of batteries, and we really need to understand. We use batteries every day of our lives, every time, but it's not everybody that really understands how they work and how the batteries, how understand their characteristics. So the first one I want to take here is how to expand upon your battery bank. If you want to expand the capacity of your battery bank, you cannot just buy new batteries and then connect them up with an old battery bank that you've used, so let's say for a year or 8 months and so on. You really need to check because it depends on the battery type and the age of the battery. If the battery is aged, like let's say for you've been using for over a year, you need to forget about trying to connect. If it's a lead acid battery, just forget about trying to put additional batteries to that battery bank, because what will happen is that the new batteries are going to absorb the characteristics of the old, of the weak batteries, and so you're not also not going to get good value for your money. So that's what we don't want to do. Um, For the lithium ion batteries, you can always stack them. It doesn't matter. Even if you've been using them for 1 year, 2 years, it doesn't matter because they have internal circuitry that controls the charging parameters of the battery. So it enables the lithium ion batteries to always charge independently. So thank you very much, and that's how much I can take for now. Let me give my other colleagues to speak.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Alex. We have Engineer Ajayi now available. Engineer Ajayi will just brush up us on the benefits of going solar and helping us understand solar. I know we have a lot of engineering people here that probably know all of these things already, but for the people that don't have much knowledge about why they need to go solar and all of that, Engineer Ajayi will just talk to us for just about 10 to 15 minutes, after which we'll move to the question and answer aspect of this meeting. Okay, Engineer Ajayi, please take it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Emmanuel Ajayi, Client Service Engineer at PSC Solar UK. And I want to say thank you for joining us this morning. Very quickly, why do we need to go solar? Why go solar? My colleague had spoken extensively about how you can actually manage your inverter properly. But why do we have to go solar? What's solar energy to even start with? Why do we encourage people to go solar? So basically, our solar energy are radiant light and heat from sun that can be harnessed using range of evolving technologies. But in this particular case, we are looking at using our solar panels. With your solar panels, you can convert solar light directly into electricity. And this energy that has been being absorbed from your sunlight and solar radiation can be stored up in your battery, with which you can generate your own electricity. So basically, the reason why we encourage that people should go solar, the reason why we say go solar, is because you can independently generate your own electricity supply, and by so doing, you cut down your utility costs. Of course, we know how epileptic power supply can be in Nigeria. So if you can generate your own power independently, it helps you to cut down your utility costs. It's equally help you to cut down on your fuel consumption, helps you to cut down on your diesel consumption, whatever the case would be. And I mean, it's so beautiful that you can get to enjoy uninterrupted power supply independently generated by you. So how do you achieve this? Now with PSC Solar UK complete solar power plant inverter system, you can generate power for your use. Even if you don't get to produce 100% of the energy you consume, but with solar, you are sure that your utility bills will drastically reduce, especially if you are using a prepaid meter. It gives you this flexibility to, control your usage. So what do you actually need to get a complete solar power plant system? You need an inverter, you need a solar charge controller, you need your battery. You need to have a battery bank from which energy being, absorbed from sunlight to your solar panels will be stored up. So with solar, you get to reduce your utility bill drastically. And not only that, I mean, the flexibility it gives you also, it gives you so much flexibility. It gives you so much flexibility that you can then decide at any point in time that, oh, I would rather, it gives you the flexibility of managing the appliances you use per time. Because you are in control, you're generating the power, you get conscious of the fact that, oh, I need to make sure that I properly manage the power that I'm generating. So, it gives you that flexibility. And one beautiful thing about solar is that, your solar energy is renewable. Energy being, generated from the sun. You're not paying the sun, as long as the day rises, the sun shines, you get sunlight. You get your sunlight. So, the energy is renewable. It's inexhaustible. We can't exhaust it. In fact, the sun, it's, what the sun generates for us is much more than what we actually have need for. So the sun, the intensity, the sunlight intensity comes every day, it's inexhaustible. It's inexhaustible, so it's dependable. And it is non-polluting. It is non-polluting. I mean, with your solar energy, no gas emission. I mean, it's safe for you. No risk or danger involved in, no hazard as such. So with your solar, you can actually equally avoid global warming. It helps you avoid global warming. And of course, when you go solar, like I've told us before, it helps you to use and dependency on fuels, whether your petrol, whether your diesel, it helps you. And it helps you to generate local wealth. We are believing someday Nigeria will get to the stage where we can generate power independently and we can sell back to the grid. In advanced country of the world, this is happening today. They have a grid tie system such that I can independently generate my power, and the excess of it I can sell back, and I get paid on monthly basis. The way we get monthly bills for utility here in Nigeria, there are countries that, consumers generate and, supply back to the grid, and at the end of the month, they get paid for that. Of course, we are seeing in Nigeria that is coming there someday. And of course, with solar panels, with going solar, you help contribute to sustainable development. So it is quite versatile. It's right. You can, at any location, whether a remote location, whether a rural location, you can go solar, you can generate power. So solar gives you that flexibility. It gives you that flexibility, and it's a wise choice. It's a wise option to explore as we look forward to having a greater Nigeria. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ajayi. So we'll just move to the question and answer part because we just have, so we'll just move to the question and answer part. If you have any questions, please use the chat functionality provided on the application or just raise up your hands. Thank you.
Okay, let's send in our questions.
Okay, Mr. Ajayi Timothy, I'm going to unmute you now so you can ask your question. or you can just type on the chat functionality. Mr. Ajayi Timothy, please go ahead with your question. Mr. Ajayi Timothy, if you can hear me, please go ahead with your question. You can use the chat functionality if you're having issues with your audio. Okay, my iPhone user is asking, I'll give this question to Engineer Alex. Engineer Alex, someone is asking, can he use a pumping machine on his solar, Mr. Thomas?
You can use a pumping machine on your inverter system, but it depends on the capacity of the inverter, and again, the rating of the pumping machine. If it's a 1 horsepower, if you have a, let's say, a 3.5 kV inverter, it can run on that 3.5 kV inverter, as long as you don't have other loads, appliances connected to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other
So
question?
you just have to be very careful because it's an inductive load, and you know what inductive loads do. They knock off the current out of phase from the voltage, and that will require more power. So you need to always pay attention to the
Okay, so
load.
Mr. Thomas is also asking if the lithium-ion batteries, he's asking how
Somebody wants to ask a question.
Mr. Thomas is asking how effective the lithium-ion batteries are compared to other batteries.
Lithium-ion batteries as compared to what?
Other
Pardon?
kind of batteries.
Lithium-ion batteries are different. They are one of the best batteries money can buy these days, because of the the, the functionality. They have very low internal resistance to current, and so you don't need too much of solar panels to be able to charge them. They are very light in weight. I mean, everything about lithium-ion battery is perfect. It's good. So I think
Okay.
I always encourage anybody that wants to use it to go ahead.
Okay. Sad, you're raising up your hand. You can go ahead with your question. Your display name is Infinix Hot 8 Lit.
Okay. Infinite Hot
Yes.
8 Lit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I I want to ask a question about, although I have a machine that the rating is
And 8 amps. Okay, so you are looking at what solar power system will be sufficient
yes.
to access power. Okay. Okay, with just the printers alone.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Paul.
Yes, I'm with you.
Just those two printers, one is 10 amps, the other is 18 amps, right?
The other one is 8. The two of them total is 18.
Okay. All right, sir. Okay.
The total
For that,
is 18.
Hello.
Yeah, I get you now. I get you now. Two printers, one is 10 amps, is 8 amps. Okay, you need a 6 kVA complete power plant.
Pardon?
Hello, did you get me now?
No, I didn't. It's practically.
Okay, so Mr. Paul, what we can do is you can just drop your message as your question as a chat, right? Engineer Ajayi would reach out to you on your phone. You can drop your number and your question. Engineer Ajayi will reach out to you on the phone.
Okay.
So we have another question. The question that we have is from, there's no name displayed, it's just the number, but the person is asking, this question is going to Engineer Alex. The person is asking, how is priority given in terms of charging of the inverter in the solar system when the PHCN power is also connected to the system? Engineer Alex, did you get that?
No, please take it again.
Okay, the person is asking, how is priority given in terms of charging the inverter in a solar system when the PHCN power is also connected to the same system?
Well, if you have PHCN and inverter and solar panels connected to your battery at the same time, priority is always given to the PHCN power because the inverter system draws more current, and priority is always given to the PHCN to charge the batteries. But if you have a smart inverter like Shotaro inverter or a good hybrid inverter, you can set your inverter in a way that you can set your inverter on a priority mode that will allow the solar to always charge the battery, or you set it on a priority mode that will always allow the PHCN or the utility to always charge the battery. So it depends on what you want. Yeah.
Okay, I believe that question has been answered. If you have any other question, Mr. Pam Francis, we have been expecting your question. You have a question, you've been raising up your hand. I know you dropped something earlier, but the network kind of took us off course. So we're just going to allow you to ask your question now. You can go ahead. Your question will be directed to Engineer Alex. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay, I have about six of your 345 watts solar panels, and I'm using a Morningstar charge controller, MPPT60. I remember when I started in 2017, I tried to use their string calculator on their website, but I didn't find your products on that site. So I actually complained to them that there is a manufacturer that I'm using their solar panels, but I don't see them on your website. So I'm happy today to note that this year I was able to find your solar panels on their website, and I used their string calculator to calculate the size of my solar panels. If you don't mind, I will share my screen to you just a minute so you see. Will that be okay?
Yes, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay. I think you have to give me permission to do that.
Hold on.
Yeah, because host disabled participant screen share here. Okay, while you do that, I'll go ahead with my question. From the 6 panels that I have, I'm supposed to have a mark, though I know efficiency, I should expect that I won't get all the power. For the 6 solar panels, the total should be about 2,070 watts. But since I connected these panels, I think I started with 4, then I went to 6. So since I connected the 6, I have not been able to harvest up to about 1,600 watts. And my solar panel orientation is north-south. So I don't know whether that has got anything to do with that, but then I expect that at least I should go close to, if not the 2,070, I should go close to maybe 1.8 or so. But I've never harvested up to 1,600. Okay, so I can share my screen now, right?
Well,
okay. I just want to show you their website where I entered. If you can see my screen, did you see the PSC Solar MDL 307 345 watts?
Yeah, 345.
Okay, okay,
307, 345. Yeah.
okay, fine. So they were able to add your company to their string calculator, which I'm very happy about. So I was able to use this to calculate. So if you can see from the interactive string results, my panels are in the combination of two strings of 3 modules. So if you look at 2 strings of 3 modules, I have about 2070 watts. That is what I should expect. But due to, conditions, of course, I don't expect to get that much. But at least I think I should be able to get closer. So like I said, I have only been able to harvest about 1,500 plus. That is since 2018 up to now. But I don't know whether there's any advice you can give me to that effect.
Well, you've already installed the panels. The point is that ideally all the solar panels are supposed to be mounted on the south orientation. But and again, I don't really know the angle of inclination of your solar panel. You know, for you to be able to harvest up to that amount, I think you really need to check the orientation of the panels, or if possible, put all the panels on one orientation, and also check the angle of inclination because it depends on your location. You know, location, because before you can get that amount, that value that you expect, I think all the solar radiation has to be directly perpendicular to the surface of your panel. That's when you will be able to get the maximum efficiency from the solar panel that you have. So you really need to go back and check or change the orientation, especially those that you've installed on the north. If it's possible for you to put them on the south, but that's the only orientation where you can get maximum efficiency from the panels.
Okay. So I think, like you mentioned angle, which I quite agree, because I just put them on the rooftop, and of course, the roof can be at any angle, so I don't have any control over the angle. So I think that could be a factor, just like you mentioned.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
All right, thank you so
Mr.
much.
Francis Pam. You can now stop sharing your screen. Okay, so we have another question from Mr. Wasiu Folarusho. Mr. Wasiu is asking, this question is directed to Engineer Emmanuel Ajayi. Mr. Wasiu is asking what would be our advice on the lithium-ion batteries compared to others batteries when the initial cost to set up using the lithium-ion battery, considering the initial cost of setup using the lithium-ion batteries.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Wasiu, we're asking for our advice. Basically, the thing is generally lithium-ion batteries on the high side because of the efficiency that that battery actually gives you. It has a high level of depth of discharge, unlike a conventional dry cell battery. So the basically, if you look at the initial cost, it's on the high side and it might not seem to be so much encouraging financially. But I think the brighter side to it is on the long run, your lithium ion battery will serve you very much well than your dry cell battery. When you are looking at replacing your dry cell battery, you know, your lithium ion battery will still be serving you effectively well. So for you to actually enjoy that efficiency that comes with lithium ion battery and the longevity with service to get from your lithium ion battery, you might just need to look beyond first. But again, your dry cell battery will equally serve you, but you just make preparations after some 5 years or probably 6 years to replace the battery by the time it's completely growing and due for replacement. Unlike a lithium ion battery, the lithium ion battery will do much more than that. So you actually need to look in between which is preferable for me. Do I intend to replace my batteries after use for 5 years or 7 or 6 years? Or do I intend to keep using my battery? So the thing is, if we look at it on the long run, it's still going to make much sense to go for your lithium ion battery from your initial setup. So I would just advise you go for your lithium ion battery. And if cost is going to be the reason why you will not be able to start up, then you can start with the conventional dry cell battery. And in a later time in the future, you can then go for your lithium ion battery. But it's going to be a good buy, lithium ion battery. It's going to be a good buy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Ajayi. Mr. Wasiu, I'm sure that you've gotten the answer to your question. We have another question from Mr. Aduluju. He's asking, this question is directed to Engineer Alex. He's asking, what is the average cost minimum of putting up a solar power?
Putting up solar power, I think that question should have been directed to Ajayi because he's more into the sales. But I think solar is not, solar systems are not cheap. You know, I think it's like in Africa, in Nigeria here, it's like a 5 to 6 or 7 figure investment. I always call it an investment because you're actually not, to me, I don't think you're spending money. I think you've actually invested in something that will give you a return. So maybe if you really want to do a good solar installation, I think you can start from saving about maybe 500,000 and above. Yeah. Thanks.
Alex, Engineer Ajayi, can you shed more light on that question, the average cost of a minimum of putting up a solar power?
Okay, so like my colleague just said, going solar is actually an investment that's going to serve you for quite a long time, especially when you go for quality and you stick with PSC solar. So, but basically, if you're looking at a 1.5 kVA system, like my colleague said, on the average, you're looking at spending a little over 500,000 for 1.5 kVA system. But like we always advise customer, you can based on your need. If you need a 1.5, you can decide to start with a 1.5 kg and use one battery. Then in a later time, you can decide to increase the battery. So you can increase the need for solar panels because we're looking at total cost from the start. So you can decide to start with a panel with a battery, 1.5 kilowatts system. And in a later time in future, you can then decide to increase the number of your panels and equally decide to increase the numbers of your battery also. And the good news is that our natural 1.5 kVA inverter can charge up to 50 amps. Can charge up to 50 amps. So it even gives you the room to conveniently increase the numbers of your battery. And of course, it's going to be a good investment for you at the later end. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Ajayi. We have a question from Mr. Oguchukwu, but Mr. Oguchukwu will attend to your request privately. Kindly drop your phone number and we will be in touch with you after this webinar. Does any other person have a technical question to be addressed? If you do, you can raise up your hand or just drop us a message on the chat. Without any further question, we'll move to the next slide of our presentation. PSC Solar UK have new innovative products. Recently, we were able to come up with the PSC Solar UK INH all-in-one solar street light. The solar street light has a 4G CCTV camera, and the features include 20 to 30 meters camera visual distance. It has the remote monitoring capability. The camera has a 32G TF card. You can, this street light gives you the opportunity to check your recorded videos and images on your mobile phone. So that's what we mean by remote monitoring. You can set the CCTV, the street lights in 3 different models. It can be the motion sensor, the time control, or you just have both. The street light uses the lithium battery or 500 WH capacity. The battery lifetime for this product is 5 years. You can adjust in 3 different angles. We also have the PSU Solar UK OGM Smart Hybrid Inverter. This inverter has one of the unique functionality of this inverter is the man-machine intelligence design, the AI. This inverter has the artificial intelligence design. It comes with an inbuilt integrated solar charge controller as well. It also has the remote monitoring capability. The battery, you get the option to select. You get the option to select either to use a lead acid battery or a lithium ion battery. So other products include the Powerwall and the Deep Cycle GSL lithium ion batteries as well. You can reach out to us using any of this information currently displaying on your screen. We would, however, still share this presentation slide with all the people who participated for this webinar, so you can take out your time and go through all that's been discussed. So that will be all. If nobody has any question, I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining PSU Solar UK today for this webinar. Part 2 would be announced soon. Thank you so much for participating. Mr. Ogochukwu, we are still yet to receive your phone number, but we already displayed our contact details, so you can reach us in either of those numbers. Thank you and do have a lovely day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Looking forward to meeting you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you all. Have a nice day. Bye.